everyone, welcome to Speak Life. I'm Irma J, and here we have this amazing, legendary, wonderful guy that is a life coach. He's America's coach. Everybody says that we need a coaching. It's been scientifically proven. Introducing the one, the only, Coach Micheal Burt.
Nice. I like that. I'm going to take you with me on the road. You can introduce me everywhere.
Oh, no problem. I'm excited to talk with you. I'm excited to learn from you. I'm excited to just get some wisdom from you, because by reading what out there, what's going on, I'm just like, oh my gosh, can't wait. So I want to start off with this. This is what I've been dying to know. So you started coaching at the early age of 15.
I did.
So how did you develop that coaching talent at such a young age?
Well, I was raised by a single mother in Tennessee, and she was working 2 and 3 jobs many times, and she would take me to the local baseball field when I was really young. And at 6 years old, a coach said to me, who was a female, coaching Little League Baseball, son, when you grow up, you're going to be a great coach. And I heard this over and over, kind of spoken over me throughout my early childhood. My high school coach called me professor. And so at 15, I got asked to coach a junior pro basketball team. I loved it. I fell in love with coaching and have been coaching people ever since.
So ever since you were a little kid, everybody's telling you.
6 years old, 15 years old, these people saw that potential in me and saw that I had leadership skills, and I was directing and coaching, and even as an athlete, I was mentoring younger players. So it's just kind of something that I wanted to do all of my life, and now I do professionally.
So what sport that kind of intrigued the coaching? Like if someone saw you saying, "Hey, you're going to be a coach," what was the sport
baseball.
Baseball?
What's interesting is I was a better baseball player than basketball, but I ended up being a basketball coach. I don't think I'd enjoy coaching baseball, but it was just on a court or on a field that people kind of detected these leadership skills in me.
Wow. That just to hear that someone spoke life into you and telling you, you're going to be an amazing coach. You're going to be an amazing coach. And did you even know what coaching was all about at that age? It's like, is that a teacher? Because at 6 years old, let's just say,
right. Yeah.
It's like you're 6. You just want to play in the dirt.
Yeah.
Right? So, but did you know what that meant? Or?
No, I didn't know. When I backtracked that, it's like I went back to that person and said, what did you see in me, right?
Right.
This is why I think leadership is kind of affirming and validating the worth and potential in another person in so clear a way they begin to see it in their own self. Many times when you speak an affirmation into a person or you see their talent and potential, they can't see it.
Right.
It was hardwired in them. It was a birthday gift given to them at birth. So somebody else kind of activates that drive inside of a person. And that's really what happened to me through questions and affirmation. It's like, hey, this is what I want to do.
So what was the steps? Like obviously you said that 15, you're coaching. And here you are, you're 7, 8, 9, 10. And so how did you develop, and who taught? Did you go to school for it? Or someone said, hey, this is what you should say, this is what you should do. How did that mold you to 15?
Well, at 15, I coached junior pro basketball, and then at 18, while I was in college, I went back to my elementary school, and I applied to be the head boys basketball coach. Now, this was unheard of because I was only 18 years old.
Right.
I got the job.
Right.
I coached for 2 years there. I coached as if I was coaching in the NBA,
right.
And that led me to my next job at 19 as an assistant coach. And I worked under a guy who was a great coach, but he was really good with people.
Right.
And so I'm learning, I'm observing, I'm going to coaching clinics. I start reading self-help books when I was 18.
Right.
That's when I really got turned on to the psychology of activating drive inside of people.
Right.
So that was really a very important cycle in my life from 18 to 25.
Okay. All right. So 2 questions, and hopefully you can give me a 2-part answer. So you said at 18, you won your first championship at 18. So what did that mean to you? And then my second question is, during those years of coaching basketball, was there a time was there a time like in a mental state of awkwardness how did you overcome it? So I'm sorry, three-part question.
So part one, when I won a championship, I was so young. I mean, I was still a kid. I was 18 years old. I really didn't know what we had done.
Right.
It was just a cycle of, I think, just pouring into people. I was totally focused on it. I was, this is what I thought about. This is what I did every day. And so step one is I didn't really know what I had done at 18 until looking back going, man, I was 18 years old when I did that, right?
Right.
And then the second part is the awkwardness of 22 years old when I become a head coach. I was the youngest head coach in the state of Tennessee at the second largest high school.
Right.
The awkwardness was I wasn't a fully matured leader. So I led primarily through fear those first couple of years because that's how coaches had coached me.
Right.
I didn't know how to be intense and positive. And so for the first 3 years, I was just trying to figure out like how to be a better coach, how to connect with the players, how to really be a great leader. And that was kind of just part of my natural maturation of just growing up as a leader. Really around 25 years old is when that started to click. I started to be intense, but I was positive. And that's really when I started winning championships, is when I changed my demeanor. I changed how I communicated.
Right.
But you got to think, I was 10 years in at that point because I started at 15. So it wasn't like I just, a lot of people say, well, at 22, I really started at 15. So that was 10 years into my coaching journey.
So my next question is that during your coaching years, like, did you end up going to like a college or a trade school to help you develop? Because it's going to lead me on to my next question, which is, you started, like you said, you started at 15. But then did you imagine by creating a multi-million-dollar coaching program in the future? So let's just rewind, like, here you are at 22, but in between the 22, did you go to college? Did you learn? Was it courses? And then, of course, I'm sure it's like, oh, wait, I know what I can do to kind of develop this program, but, did you ever imagine that would happen?
No, I didn't imagine. I did go to college. I actually went to college for 9 years to get 3 degrees. I got an undergraduate, then I went back and got my master's, then I went back to get my doctorate. But that part was, I was interested in learning. I was curious. So when I went to college, I would go to college in the morning, then I would go to my job, right? And then I literally graduated on a Saturday, and they hired me the next Thursday to be the head coach, like 5 days later. Right time, right place. I had been there. So it's like, okay, now I'm a head coach. And I'm 22 years old. I'm trying to grow up. I'm trying to figure this out. But I was fascinated by what I call inner engineering people, building competitive intelligence, activating the body, mind, heart, and spirit. See, at 18, I started really self-development, studying business.
Right.
And what I was doing was bringing business principles over to the athletic world, which was very unusual in those days. Because a lot of coaches weren't reading business books, right?
Right.
So I was going to coaching clinics, and then I got fascinated with leadership. Then, like I said, building competitive intelligence. So around 25 years old, people were always asking me, what are you doing with the players? How are you winning this many games?
Right.
So I said, I don't have time to explain it. Why don't I just write a book about it? So I sat down and wrote my first book. That was number 1 of 17. And that started this business thing that I had no intention to do whatsoever. I wanted to coach in high school, win championships, go to college, be a major college coach. And when I wrote that first book, people said, we want you to come speak. And it was business people, like, come speak at my company, come speak to this. I'd go speak for an hour, and I wanted to go back and coach. And they would say, will you come back and coach our people? And then those people started to offer me more money in, a day than I was making in a year. So it was like, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe I have a skill set to go over here into the business world and coach people. But I hadn't won a championship yet, so I stayed for 6 more years until I did that.
Because you were very determined to win a championship.
Yeah, I felt very grateful that my boss hired me at 22 years old. I felt indebted that I should stay until I fulfilled my commitment. And so I didn't retire from athletic coaching until I was 31, and we had won a championship.
Wow. So how did your coaching program come to life, and what was the strongest reason of building it? Obviously at 22, and you wrote these books. So how can you take me to that process?
So when I wrote the book helped me to become more known. And so I started getting requests to speak. And I would just go speak thinking, I'm going to go speak for an hour and go back, right? Well, the business people said, we really liked it. We liked you. Our people need a coach. This was in, I'm trying to think of what year this was, but this was when business coaching was really starting to pick up. Like where companies started saying, we need to hire coaches. Well, I was a winning coach.
Right.
So it's like, keep our people motivated. Our people need motivation. They need this. And that's the only way they knew how to say it. Come over and motivate our people. And so once they started saying, will you come back? I was like, well, what does that look like? Will you coach our people? And so that's really how my coaching company started, is that I would go speak and those people would say, will you come back? We want you to be our coach. And I'd say, well, what does that look like? And they said, well, we want you to coach all of our people over the next 6 months to a year. And they said, we're willing to pay you this much money. And I'm like, okay. And what I was really getting paid for was to drive some kind of high level of performance. So that's it. Here's your people, and there's 500 people, and we need you to get them to this next level. And because of my skill set of knowing how to engineer people, activate the drive inside of a person, the psychology of all of that, I just knew how to win. I knew how to build winning cultures. So companies were paying me to come in and do that. And that started my coaching and speaking company.
How did they, okay, obviously we know internet was not time. How did they find you? How, like, was it word of mouth? Was it at the time because newspapers? How did they like? Hey, like yes, please, walk me through that process.
So because I built kind of a national championship team, I was in those days. People read the newspapers,
right?
And I was always in the newspapers as a championship coach. And there was an article. This shows you the power of the media, whether positive or negative. A reporter wrote an article about me that was on the front page of our big paper that said, Burt enjoys success off the court as a top motivator. Okay, so it was like a main article, and it told how many books I had written and what my real skill set was. Well, that people started to change seeing me as a basketball coach to this guy who really knows how to motivate people. And that changed everything because people started going, come speak.
Right.
Everything started with speaking. Everything.
Wow.
Every major contract I signed, every major deal I signed, it all started with somebody in an audience seeing me speak.
Wow. So how vital was it for a person to have that competitive intelligence and that greatness when you're speaking? Because here you are, you get invited, they're inspired. So how did that, like I said, like when they're speaking, they're probably feeling like, oh my gosh, he's a champion coach. And he's competitive. And so obviously those two are going hand to hand. So how can that person, like I'm repeating myself, have that competitiveness?
Well, competitive intelligence is a term that I put together because there's really not a concept called competitive intelligence. There's IQ and spiritual intelligence and emotional intelligence. But to me, competitive intelligence is where you're combining your knowledge, skill, desire, confidence, that would be body, mind, heart, and spirit, and you have an intelligence of knowing how to win, of knowing how to produce. So when I would go speak, I would kind of activate that drive in people, and they would go, man, I need to play at a bigger level. See, they would hear me speak and go, you know what, I need a coach. I got more potential. I need to be playing at a higher level. I need to do something with this guy, right? And so the competitive intelligence wasn't activated that day. The drive was activated. The competitive intelligence came after I coached these people for 6 months to a year or 5 years. And over a period of time, just like I coached the players, I was kind of manufacturing their greatness over a cycle of time. That's my skill set.
So you're coaching. And just like someone spoken to your life, is there a particular person that that really captivated you, that you're like, I'm going to do what this person did to me so many years ago? So with that said, you're speaking greatness to a person. So do you have a person whom you would consider to be a greatest person in the world? For me, that's an easy one. It was Dr. Stephen Covey. Covey wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Principle-Centered Leadership, First Things First. When I was 18 years old, I went to a coaching clinic because that's what coaches did. We went and studied under other coaches that were great. And the coach I was studying under said, if you don't read another book this year, pick up a copy of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I go, okay, this is what this guy said to do. I went straight to the bookstore. I bought that book. It's very hard to read at 18. It's very deep, okay? And so I'm reading this book, and I'm like, all right, these are the habits of the top people in the world.
I'm going to start teaching my players these habits.
Okay.
Okay. So from 18 to 25, that was who I studied under. Okay. And so he had a very deep methodology. So it was body, mind, heart, and spirit, whole person, how to find your voice, how to inspire other people to find their voice. That really changed my life, because even to this day, it's the foundation for how I coach people.
Did you, like, you guys are still friends, correct?
Covey was much older than me. He passed away at 79 years old, but he was a mentor to really probably millions of people. His book sold millions of copies.
And how long, like you said, the book was so deep. How long did it take you to read it?
A bunch. It took me a long time, especially at 18. It's just, I would tell people, you got to read this book, it'll change your life. And they would come back and say, it's so hard to read. And I was like, I know, but it's so deep and it's rich. And, it's not, when you write books like I do, to me, there's books that are like cotton candy. It's like, that's a simple book to read. When you study under someone like Covey, I guess it makes me a little snobbish, because he was just so much deeper than everybody else.
Aw.
In a good way. That's just some people are John Maxwell people, some people are Rick Warren people, some people are so and so people, right? Covey was my guy. That's who impacted me at that time of my life.
So there are times when a person's greatness becomes weak or lost in the middle of continuing their life.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, how do people retrieve their greatness or find their loss and greatness in them?
People operate in cycles. They're rejuvenated, which means to make young again. They're fresh, they're dynamic, they're excited, they're enthusiastic, they're curious. And then they operate in mechanical, going through the motions. They're tired, but they're fighting through it, right? Then they reach burnout, which is loss of all joy or passion for something.
Right.
What has to happen is that drive inside of them, which is what the new book is about, Flip the Switch, is to reactivate that drive, okay?
Okay.
And there's certain things that reactivate that drive. Competition can reactivate it. Fear can reactivate it. Many times exposure to something or somebody can reactivate that drive. So what we're trying to do is reactivate a drive inside of a person that maybe has gone dormant, or it's flickering, or they've lost it. They're tired, they're burned out, they're exhausted. And that's really what's happening with a lot of people today. I mean, studies show 87% of people live their entire lives, never find their purpose. Most people I talk to cannot tell me their talents. They don't know what problem they want to solve in the world. They're going through the motions and they're tired and they're exhausted. And they have a deeper potential, but they don't know how to activate that potential.
Is there a secret to like what you say or do, or is it a known secret?
Yeah.
So what?
Well, my gift is probably more like an apostolic gift.
Okay.
Which is to reach inside of a person and pull out something in them, and then simultaneously inspire them to go do that for other people. But I am a coach, so I codify concepts. I put them into formulas, and then I break big concepts down into simple things that they can do. So it's the way I package a concept that gets them to go, you know what, I do have more potential. And then I give them a structure to manifest that potential.
Now, is it, when you coach, you say you coach businesses, do you also go to schools to kind of give that same impact, just like you do with businesses, or do you, it's just like you just do strictly businesses?
No, we have a division called Success School, and we teach 10 to 17-year-olds, 17 to 22-year-olds, the habits of the top performers in the world.
Oh, okay.
So that's like its own division within my company. I do have a heart for children and kids.
Right.
And so being a coach, I saw what they didn't get taught many times that I am now seeing later on in life when they don't learn it early in life. So we developed a whole division called Success School. Did
your strategy or approach and message of somehow change as we are in the digital world? Because we just touched brief a little bit back in the day. It was all newspapers.
Yep.
So now we're in the digital world. So how is your business thriving in this business of digital at the same time, with the adult and kids?
Yep.
So can you elaborate on that?
Well, I think just, now I coach people weekly via Zoom, right? I mean, people from all over the world can tune in. We have an international audience. We sell to people all over the world. So I think going digital, you can be connected to people. They can watch you every day and feel like they know you. So I do morning videos. They can follow me on all the social media. So when I meet people or I'm there in person, they feel like they already know me, right?
Right.
There's more of a connection. And that's really what digital has allowed us to do. Now, do I always enjoy it? I actually prefer live any day over digital. Digital exhausts me sometimes because I'm such a live person, right? I have an energy and I'm a coach and I want to coach people. Now, a big virtual event, the way we do virtual events today, where I can see all of the audience members, I can somewhat get their energy back to me because that feedback back to a coach, I'm used to having players and I get immediate feedback. They perform, I can watch, I can give them feedback, and so that's why the live experience is real important to me.
I'm assuming it's really hard to, you're on Zoom and you're trying to reach out to somebody. Is it really hard to kind of get that rawness out of them, when they're watching you?
Well, the emotion, it's more emotionally exhausting because you're having to bring, you can't really tell how engaged they are sometimes virtually, so that you have to bring up a lot of energy. Whereas if you're right there in a room with people, you can tell. You can feel the attitude of their posture. You can say, are they engaged? Are they not engaged? Are they getting it? Are they not getting it? So there is a different energy level. So if I did 6 Zooms in a day, right, I'd be just as exhausted doing 6 Zooms as if I went and did 3 speaking engagements.
Oh my gosh, wow. So and then on a daily basis, how many Zooms do you do? And then how many speaking engagements do you do on a weekly basis?
I typically do about 150 speaking engagements live per year, probably 3 to 7 Zooms per day. And, but I operate like an artist or athlete or entertainer. So I have lighter days that I rest, I practice, and I perform.
What type of people come to you? I know we talked about business, but do athletes come to you?
Sometimes.
Do singers, songwriters?
Yep.
And have you done the most famous people or not so famous people?
Yeah, all of those people. When you write a book like Flip the Switch, some people say, I need to reactivate my drive. I've been successful, I'm burned out, I'm exhausted. Can I, right? Like I need to coach with you. So I've coached everything from artists, athletes, business people, people just trying to get started. It's just really people who are hungry to get better.
Now, speaking, you mentioned your book.
Yep.
Flip the Switch. Tell us a little bit more in depth of what the book is about, and and also what could they get out of it that once they read this book?
The book teaches you how to activate a drive inside of you to want to pursue a bigger future.
Right.
So think of inspiration as breathing life into a person. Think of motivation as to move. Think of activation to initiate. Okay? And much of my life has been really activating a drive to do something even when I didn't feel like it. The artist doesn't always feel like singing the songs.
Right.
The football player doesn't feel like getting hit that hard on Sunday.
Right.
Right. Pros don't always feel like doing something, but they've learned how to fight through their feelings to play at a higher level. So the book is really teaching you, how do you do that?
Right.
What happens tomorrow if you wake up and you don't feel like doing it? See, I argue in the book that you can know your purpose, but still not be motivated.
Right.
See, I can know my purpose. I'm supposed to coach people and not feel like coaching people tomorrow. Right? So what do I do then? So the book tells you this is how you activate your drive to pursue your potential.
Is in the book, do you have a favorite line? Like when you were writing, you were like, "Ooh, that's good," or a couple favorite lines.
Yeah.
And so, can you tell us what's your favorite line, and do people catch it? Meaning, oh my gosh, this is it.
I was thinking, because I'm doing a book club right now. And so for everybody who buys the book, they go through an 8-week book club with me.
Right.
And I don't many authors who do this. So I've been going back and rereading the book.
Right.
And so basically in the book, this is one of my favorite lines. My life would be focused on teaching people how to activate this drive so they could discharge the kinetic energy inside of them toward some defining ambition. So let's say you have a goal, dream, vision. the book is really trying to teach you how to activate that kinetic energy. That's really what potential is.
Right.
It's just kinetic energy that's sitting there
Right.
until activated, right? Something comes along in a person's life to activate that potential. Okay, and so that's one of my favorite lines in the book because it's telling you this is what the purpose of this book is. It's going to fight off complacency. It's going to show you how to find another gear in your life. It's going to show you how to step into your God-given potential. It's potential just sitting there waiting until activated. And my argument is that you need a coach, you need someone who is skilled to come in and help you flip the switch.
Nice. What would the world look like if there was no life coach existing? You know, obviously, you know, you are the America's coach.
Yeah.
So what would that look like?
Coaches engage people in a set of systematic behaviors that allows them to do something tomorrow they cannot do today. The good coaches are very skilled.
Right.
And they're skilled at helping a person find and feel a missing structure.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And so there's a lot of bad coaches in the world.
Right.
But the good coaches really do help people move from A to B in their life. And that's really the purpose of a coach, is that you have a confusion. The coach brings a structure that brings a clarity.
Right.
Okay? And so without coaches in our lives, I mean, think about everybody who's done something big in their life has a coach.
Right.
I mean, all the athletes have coaches, all the Olympians have coaches, all the CEOs have coaches. I mean, to me, everybody needs a coach.
Who's your favorite person that you've coached?
I've got a few particular people that I love because they're hungry, they're humble, they're teachable. They never think they're really there. So I've coached people who I've been coaching for the last 7 years that the people who've got the most results with me have typically been with me for 5 years or longer.
So it's almost like you've been their mentor, right?
And there's levels of mastery. Like if you study mastery, it's 1 to 4 years studying under a master, 4 to 7 years practicing what you see the master do, typically 4 to 7 years of becoming a master at something. Well, that's a lost art in today's world. So the people who master my content are the people who I enjoy coaching the best because it's not like, well, I come for 3 months, I got it, I'm good.
Right.
They just keep getting deeper and deeper and they keep getting better results.
So, how can people get your book? Where can
That's
they
an easy
find
one. They can
you?
go to Amazon. They can go anywhere good books are sold to get the book. And we want you to keep buying the book. They can go to coachburt.com to see all the things we do. They can come to live events. They can follow me on social media, Coach Micheal Burt. If you just search that, they'll certainly find me and they can get as many books as they want to.
Other days it just ain't working. The good, the bad, the right, the wrong, and everything in between.